Hello, everyone, and welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we will learn how to leverage ChatGPT to draft lease agreements, employment contracts, and many more. So first, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to pretend that basically it is a lawyer in Toronto, Canada. And let's assume that I'm going to give a scenario. This scenario could be that I own a place, for example, at a given address, and I would like ChatGPT to draft a lease agreement for us in 1 year, or for 1 year of lease. So I'm going to say, pretend that you're a lawyer in Toronto, Canada. I own a place at 4 Spadina Avenue in Toronto, Canada. Draft a lease agreement for 1 year. Well, again, I think OpenAI is going through some capacity limitations. Okay, here we go. Sure, here's a sample lease agreement. And please know that this is just a template. So what's powerful here is that basically ChatGPT is going to give you a nice template. I'm not saying this is going to be a kind of a replacement to lawyers, for example. You still need to have an expert lawyer to review this, but this is a great starting point. It's going to give you the key items that you need to cover. First, the terms, the property, for example, the address here, and of course, you can go ahead and fill up your name and the as a landlord and the tenant as well names. You need to include the rent here, the amount in dollars per month. If there is a security deposit, for example, that you would like to include, what are the use of premises that are available on the property. You need to also include here who is responsible for the maintenance and repairs. You can also include for example, if you allow pets on your property or not, governing laws and the entire agreement as well. And there is a witness here, if any, and include locations as well here to sign the agreement by the landlord and the tenant as well. Okay, what if I would like to assume that, let's say I work at the Human Resources Department and let's say XYZ Tech Inc. And let's assume that I would like to draft an employment agreement for my new engineering hire. And here we go. Let's go ahead and restart it again. Okay, so let's go ahead and test it out here. Here's a draft agreement. It's going to tell you, well, the employment agreement or the agreement is made or entered between a given date, of course, between XYZ Tech Inc. Corporation. It's going to give you under the laws of specific state or province. And here you have the employee name. And here you're including all the different, basically, terms of the agreement. You have the employment term, you have the position and duties, you have the specific compensation, X dollars per year. You also have here, if you have benefits that you're going to offer to the employee, confidentiality and proprietary information, inventions and patents, terminations, governing laws, entire agreement, amendments, and counterparts. And of course, you can include here the signature for both the employee and the human resources or whatever company representative of that company. Okay. Let's assume that you are selling your business and you need to draft a purchase agreement and you are looking for a template as an example. So here I'm going to say, well, I'm selling my business and I need to draft a purchase agreement. Can you provide me with a template? Here we go. Certainly. The purchase agreement or the agreement is made at a specific date and is giving you a nice template, kind of a very good starting point where you can outline here basically the payment schedule, the purchase price, the sale of the asset, all the representations and warranties of buyers. And you can also include confidentiality, governing law, whatever the agreement was drafted basically in, whether it's a state or even a state or a province in US or Canada or anywhere in the world. You can also here you find the signature for both the seller and the buyer. Okay, let's assume, and this is kind of quite common, especially if you're running maybe a small business or if you have a startup. Most of the time you're hiring consultants to give you basically or offer you services. So sometimes you would like to draft a service agreement for these specific consulting businesses or consulting services, and you're looking for a template. So instead of just searching on Google, you can just simply ask ChatGPT, I need a service agreement for my consulting business. Can you provide me with a template? And let's go ahead and restart it again. And let's go ahead and test it out. And here we go. Certainly, this is simply a consulting service agreement. And it's actually pretty powerful, pretty good. I went through it before. So it is going to tell you this agreement between the given client and between a given consultant. And you can find here the scope of the service, fees and payment, all the expenses, terms of the condition, confidentiality, who owns the work, limitation of liability, governing law, entire agreement, and also the names of basically the client and whoever is offering the service. Okay, let's assume that your company or startup is maybe entering a joint venture with another company, and you are looking to draft basically an agreement. Again, I'm not saying this is going to replace basically lawyers. Again, you still, of course, need expert lawyers to go through this, but this is going to provide you with a very good starting point. So let's go ahead and run it again. So I'm entering a joint venture, and here we go. This is a nice, basically, agreement here, kind of a very good starting point. And then finally, let's assume that you would like to draft a non-disclosure agreement for a given business. If you recall, we covered before what are the requirements for non-disclosure agreement in previous lessons. But right now, I would like to ask ChatGPT to actually draft one for me. Here we go. This is the actual agreement. So I'm going to tell you, well, who are the parties involved, what confidential information you're trying to protect. Here we have the terms and termination, return of information, governing law, remedies, exclusions, signatures. And keep in mind that NDA can vary depending on the specific business relationships, industry, and other factors. It's always recommended to seek legal advice when drafting or signing an NDA. And that's it. That's all I have for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next lesson.